So I'm not going to have the little diagram in this video because we all know where the API is coming and going from. I'm just going to go through the API.js section by section so that you can understand it and you can customize it. Because you might want to have your own headers or tokens or whatever. So it starts out with the request response interceptors, which basically monitor the outgoing requests, the incoming responses. They do the animation of the progress bar, and they do the cancellations automatically. If some user interaction or some use case triggers the same request before the previous request had completed, as long as they're identical requests, cancellation will be automatic. So it won't load twice or accept the same response twice. This function is a mix-in, so it's available for every tag, and it's essentially your API call. We can take a look at it in the text tag. There we go. So we're putting in some URL, and we're giving it a name or an identifier. This is basically for cancellation. If the same name is executing simultaneously, one of them will be canceled, the first one. So we have the API call, which returns a promise, and you can process the results as needed. Now, a few different situations came up where I wanted to make API calls from state, or I wanted state itself, the storage engine, to have access to the server. And it just became, no, please don't do that. Because if there's a state change, you have listeners and handlers for that. Those listeners and handlers can interact with the API and re-record to state. You don't want state magically changing on its own. You want to have socket listeners or interactions with the tags or state change events bubbling up and cascading back down. But just having state magically modify was a disaster. Kind of like two-way binding, only 10 times worse. Heading back to the API function call, got a little sidetracked there. This thing will kind of automatically go into get or post. You can force it to go into put or delete. And if you require custom headers to access your server, you can put those in right there. There's nothing to stop you from changing this tutorial base code. Other than that, I gotta say the API call is about as unsophisticated as the API itself. Get, post, put, delete, heading to a CRUD server, basic read, write, execute interactions in other areas. The overall mechanisms are just stupidly simple.